sleeping in my room. Toy was in hers. She was having a sleepover with her sister LaShane, her cousin Jocelyn, her friend Isis, and Kano's 2 daughters, Karina and Janaea. Black was in his room. Slab was on the couch in the living room. My homie Shortlegs, Skrilla, and my videographer Ryan were all downstairs in the basement. Meek and Nikki had been there the night before, but it looked like they had left. I woke Black and Slab up and told them to flush the weed and hide the guns. While they argued about whether or not to unlock the front door, I went back into my room. I was going to pretend to be asleep. Slab ended up opening the doors. They slammed him to the ground and put a knee in his back. When they busted into my room moments later, I noticed 2 things. The first was the cluster of green dots. Lasers from the assault rifles pointed at my chest. Then I saw the words printed across their tactical gear. U.S. Marshals, Southeast Regional Fugitive Task Force. The feds? Hands in the air, everybody on the ground. I put my hands in the air. I got on the ground. How many people are in the house? I don't know, but my daughter and her friends are upstairs, I said. Don't do anything reckless. Room by room, they started rounding everybody up. When they went downstairs, Shortlegs wouldn't come out from the corner of the basement he was tucked away in. He seemed unfazed. They had to throw a flash grenade at him to get him to come out. I was cuffed and taken outside, where I was made to lie face down in the grass of my front yard. I could hear Black's voice behind me. He was going bad on the marshal in charge. I believe his name was Jim. Black, stay with the girls, I shouted. Whatever this shit is about, I'll be out soon. I can't, fat boy, he called back. They're here for me too. When I realized they'd come for Black too, I started to get an idea what this was about. But it still didn't explain why the feds had come. That part was throwing me off, and it was concerning. I wondered if I should have Renee move the money into her account. Everybody was outside by then. Shortlegs had overheard Black and I talking, and he said he'd drive the girls back to Miami. Lyra was in tears. Slab was giving the agents a fake name, and they hadn't even asked him shit. I'd had Ryan in the basement working around the clock for so long he was probably relieved to be getting a break. 2 of the marshals snatched me up off the ground and escorted me down the driveway. As we made our way, I looked back at Toy. She was in shock. She didn't know what was happening, but Kano's daughters did. 3 years earlier, their father was taken away by the feds. Kano got caught up in a sting operation, and they had him on a wire talking about robbing a Haitian freighter for 100 kilos. The girls hadn't seen him since. From the back seat of a black paddy wagon, I could hear the marshals talking outside. They were disappointed I'd been at the studio house. They all thought they were going to get to see the big house, the Holyfield estate. Then I noticed a familiar face. A local cop in the crowd of U.S. Marshals. He was the fat, bald redneck who arrested me 2 weeks earlier for having a couple joints in my car. He'd been waiting for me outside the big house. As soon as I pulled out the gates in my Mulsanne, he pulled me over. It was Deputy Sheriff Tommy Greer of the Fayette County Sheriff's Office. As soon as we made eye contact, he came up to the car. "Didn't I tell you I'd see you soon?" He laughed. Rapper Rick Ross arrested on suspicion of pistol whipping, kidnapping employee. The Los Angeles Times. Warrants. Man assaulted by rapper Rick Ross lost use of jaw. The Atlanta Journal-Constitution. Rick Ross charged in assault that left victim unable to chew solid foods. Fayette County News. Black and I were taken to Fayette County Jail and booked on charges of kidnapping, aggravated assault, and aggravated battery. Both of us were denied bond and would sit behind bars until our next hearing the following week. I spent that week in solitary confinement, locked down for 23 hours a day in an 8 by 12-foot cell. The fluorescent bulb over my head was kept on at all times. The hole is where they put inmates on suicide watch who require 24/7 visual supervision. I refused to eat the slop they brought me. I'd spoken with my chef, and she told me to just fast and stay hydrated. When they tried serving me what looked like possum or raccoon stew, I flipped the tray over. The red, fortified punch that came with it spilled everywhere. I don't know what they put in that punch, but it stained the floor of my cell for days. The next day, they brought me a white bread and pork bologna sandwich. I told them I don't eat swine and to bring me something else. I was laughing.